Hello makers! If you follow my channel, you know I love this ESP-8266 on the NodeMcu board. It's perfect to develop your own IoT projects. It has several digital pins, it has also an analog pin, one analog pin. Let's count. One. Yeah, it only has one analog pin. That's inconvenient. If I want to read the values of more than one analog sensors, what to do? I could, for example, combine two of them. Two ESP, two analog sensors. Or I could use an additional Arduino Nano. But two controllers for one project, not the thing of my wildest dreams. I have to find a good way how to communicate between those two controllers. Or I could use one of those analog input extenders, the ADS1115. It's connected via I2C to this controller and has 4 additional analog inputs. And if you search long enough, you find those also in those quite tiny PCBs, so it even would fit in any project. But for demonstration, I think we'll use a bigger one. Just have to solder the pin headers. Let's try it with some magic. Yep, pin header soldered. So we're using our breadboard friendly NodeMcu board, the ADS1115, and wire it up. Of course, there is no way around using ground and VCC. We're using the ground rail because we also want to connect a sensor later. Ground. We connect VCC to a rail, and we are using the 3.3 volt output. This analog extender, that's called an analog extender, can be supplied by 3.3 up to 5.5 volts. So it doesn't matter if you're using 3.3 volts or 5 volts. That comes in very handy because we don't have a 5 volt output on the ESP. And now the I2C pins. Well, usually we would use analog 4 and 5 for the I2C. We don't have any analog pins other than the analog 0. But the cool thing is on the NodeMcu board you can define the I2C pins for yourself. But we will use the corresponding pins. Well, it's not D4 and D5, it's D1 and D2. Okay, here it's D2 and D2. There must be failure in printing. The first D2 is obviously the D1 and the D2. The D1 pin corresponds to the pin 5 at an Arduino. So 5 is the clock line, and pin 2 is the data line. It corresponds to the pin 4. Well, now we need at least one sensor. Let's see what we got. I find a gyroscope. The GY61. I also made a video about this one. It has 3 analog outputs. Perfect for this analog extender. Connect VCC and ground first. That one's ground, that one is VCC. Yep. and connect the 3 analog outputs to the 3 analog inputs on this one. And since it's a test, we don't have to recognize which pin measures what sensor value. Just connect it how you feel it. So this looks pretty good. Yeah, bring out my laptop and see if this little thing does a magic trick. So let's see, wouldn't it be cool if you had a library for it? Let's try ADS1A, an Adafruit library. It seems for every problem there's an Adafruit library. Let's install it. And of course there must be also an example for it. Of course. Just comment this line out because we have this component, the ADS1115, not the ADS1015. So if you want to change the pins where the IC is attached, you can do this with wire begin. D2 was SDA and D1 was clock line. Just changing the baud rate for the NodeMcu. And let's see, it does a magic trick. So we are getting values, and as it will work for the gyroscope, they seem to change when I move the board. Yeah, this one works. I'm impressed. So I looked it up and it's called a digital to analog converter. With this you can extend any Arduino or any ESP-8266 by 4 or more analog inputs. And it's connected via I2C, one of my favorite ways to connect things to an Arduino. But what if 4 analog inputs aren't enough? Well, every of those I2C devices has its own I2C address. And the address is normally imprinted on this little board. But there we have an address pin. So you can change the default address by connecting the address pin to either SDA, SDL, ground or VCC. You can change the internal I2C address of this device. You can technically use 5 of these boards on one Arduino or ESP. So 5 times 4 is 20 additional analog inputs. That's quite much and should cover most of your IoT projects. Well, for me it's the right sensor for my big ass project. Well, this sensor and the ESP, that's what I need for my next big project. Although I think I will use a smaller one that you've seen at the beginning of the video. But only if I can find it again. It's so small I already lost it within 3 minutes. So if you like this video, thumbs up, write some comments down below if you have questions to the sensor, and check out my other videos. And be creative with your projects. Bye.